YouTube, it's Emily Rose here, and I'm coming back and letting you know how I experienced the reading rush this week. I know in my last video, I inexplicably called it the reading roundup during the whole thing. It's not the reading roundup. I'm not at a hoedown. It is the reading rush, and I understand that now. But I took a series of vlogs after I finished each of my books, and I just wanted to let you guys in on my thoughts and my feelings of each of the different stories that I've read. I finished 5 1/4 books, and I did 5 1/2 challenges out of 7. I'm pretty proud of myself. I would say that I kept with it pretty most of the week. It was towards the end of the week I kind of lagged off there. But I will talk about that later. For right now, let's look at the different vlogs that I have, and you guys can experience the books just like I did. So for Reading Rush, Monday I started A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow, and I finished it on Tuesday. And in terms of this book, I will say that I was pretty disappointed in it. I expected it to be a lot more. The cover was so beautiful, so I really wanted it to do like great things to my soul, but it didn't do great things to my soul. It did not. It was really clunky with pacing. It moved so slow, and there wasn't a lot like plot-wise in the parts that it moved slow. There were lots of times that I was just thinking, what's going on? And I didn't quite know what was going on until it was like page 120. And then things just kind of was like, oh, that's what the plot is. In terms of like dual point of views, I love dual point of views. They're really fun to write. They're really fun to read. I love getting in the heads of different characters. But this one, the voices sounded so similar that I often found myself like going back and figuring out who was actually talking at that point. Like what point of view was I in? And so that's my thoughts on A Song Below Water. And so I moved on to today. I've read and finished Tuesday, The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. I liked this a lot more than I liked the first two, the wedding date and the proposal. I thought it was really cute. I will probably only give it 3 stars as well because it followed like a typical romance kind of flow, and those always wind up being predictable to me, and so I kind of saw what was coming. I did like the main conflict. I thought it was really not as unbelievable as some romances could be, and I really enjoyed the characters. I thought the characters were really cute, and I liked them together, but it was average for me, so I'm gonna give it 3. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, will be the next book I read, and I'm going to start the first book I touched, which is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and I'll check in with you tomorrow and let you know my thoughts on that. So I'm about halfway through Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. It is Wednesday, halfway through our readathon. The reading rush this year is really kind of pressuring me to read pretty quickly, and The Handmaid's Tale is pretty hard to read pretty quickly. It's one of those novels that takes thought, and is not just like a breezy read, and I haven't read one of those in a really long time. I've read a lot of like easy reads lately, so this is something that's really kind of taken me longer. It's really great. I really love it. I really love the different layering she does in the plot. I really love that some of it's past tense, some of it's current tense, some of it's interim dialogue, and she kind of weaves it together in a really nice way. She doesn't use quotation marks, which I've read books like these before, and I always find them kind of hard to figure out who's talking, or what, in this case, what's dialogue and what's inner dialogue. And so that's my thoughts on that so far. I'm going to take a break from The Handmaid's Tale for a little bit and kind of switch to a different book. I'm going to go shopping right now, so on the drive over, I'm outside of my house, so I'm going to start Freshman, which is right here. And it's co-written by Tom Ellen and Lucy Ivinson. So that's what I'm going to start right now and go back to Handmaid's Tale and finish it probably later this evening or tomorrow. All right, guys, we'll catch up with you soon. So I've actually started reading this book outside. like I'm supposed to, following the rules like a good little girl. I made it 55 pages, and now I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes, and that ends that journey. Let's try again tomorrow. But in all honesty, I'm probably going to keep reading it inside. Shh, don't tell anybody. Hi guys, I just finished The Freshman. It's about 11:30 at night. I was supposed to read this one outside, but I didn't. I read 55 pages outside, and then I promptly gave up. I'm just not an outside reader. But I could technically include this as my book read that takes place on another continent because it takes place in England. So I could replace it with that and then read a different book outside, which I might actually end up doing. But anyway, here are my thoughts on Freshman. I gave it 3 stars. That's kind of my baseline when it comes to reviews. I give a lot of 3 stars. They're like my bread and butter. I give 3 stars because if I read a book and I'm like, hey, I enjoyed that book, I finished it, I didn't hate it, it's a 3-star for me. If it was like, oh, that was a really good book, I really enjoyed that book was meaningful to me in some way, that's a 4. If it was just, I can't handle it, my emotions are overflowing, I had such a visceral reaction, any of those are 5 stars. So this one was a 3-star, and I will tell you why. It was a 3-star because there are moments where I was like, this is poor writing. But, you know, there were other moments that I laughed out loud at. And the ending, I will say, was very refreshing. I did not expect the ending. It was different from a typical YA romance. I don't know if this is exactly a romance novel, but it's definitely based upon, like, finding love at freshman year. And so, yeah, it would be a romance novel. I take it back. But for the most part, I really enjoyed what I was reading, but it was missing that je ne sais quoi. And so I gave it 3. And tomorrow I'm going to finish The Handmaid's Tale. I'm about halfway through it right now. And for now, I'm going to go to bed and pick up the reading rush in the morning. All right. Good night, YouTube. Hi, BookTube. Emily here. Just finished The Handmaid's Tale. It is the 4th book of Reading Rush that I have finished. It is now Thursday, so I've got 3 more to go, 2 coming in the mail, and 1 that I have to try to read outside, which, let's be real, y'all, it's not going to happen. I'm just going to read inside. I don't like reading outside. Sorry. Not sorry. But anyway, back to The Handmaid's Tale. I really enjoyed reading The Handmaid's Tale. It was a lot deeper than the books I've read recently, so it required a lot more thought and careful and precise reading technique in order to get the full aspect of the book and the full range that it runs. I really enjoyed the parts where she broke the 4th wall and was like, look, this is the story I'm telling, this is how I'm feeling. I really love the introspectiveness of, is that a word, introspectiveness? I love the introspective comments that Offred made. I loved her inner dialogue. I think that was my favorite part of the story, was Offred's inner dialogue. I loved the beautiful metaphors she wove. I gave it a 4 for this reason only. I gave it a 4 because I didn't have the page-turning kind of urgency that I would give a 5-star book where I'm just, oh, gotta get to the next page, gotta read the next part. I wasn't feeling that. I put it down and walked away from it for a little bit yesterday, which is different for me. Usually I read 1 book at a time and continue all the way through until I'm done. But with this book, I put it down and walked away and read Freshman in the middle of it, which is a different technique for me. I love that I had to work harder on this book. I needed a book like this. After reading so many easy books, it was time for me to think a little, and I think that helped me a lot. But like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm waiting for P.S. I Still Love You and Wilder Girls to come in the mail. They should be arriving today, but I think I'm well on track for Reading Rush so far, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. So I got my last 2 books in the mail. One was P.S. I Still Love You, and the other one was this, Wilder Girls. and I just want to talk about this cover for a second. First of all, how beautiful is this? And second of all, it comes, I don't know if you can see it, but it has like this plastic film over it, and it's cracked and flaking. And I'm pretty sure that's like an aesthetic choice of the book. And I don't know whether to be impressed about the extra-ness of it all. I mean, peeling plastic, like paper thin, I have a feeling it has to do with like this book, because I heard this book was like a body gore type book. And so I think that's a little extra, but also I'm pretty impressed. So I finished Handmaid's Tale today. Now I'm gonna start Wilder Girls, which I just talked about the beautiful cover, and hope that I don't get too grossed out. And this is my reading rush choice of books that I don't normally read the genre of. I think that's what it was. If it isn't, then I'm twisting it to be that. And that's what I'm doing. And so I'll check in with you guys soon. So now I am just peeling the book like a sunburn. So let's just say that it's more distracting than aesthetically pleasing. But in terms of it being on purpose, my mom says I just got a defective book. I don't know. What do you think? Just let me know in the comments. Hi guys, just finished Wilder Girls by Rory Power for Reading Rush. It was my choice for a genre I don't normally read and would like to read more of. I don't know if I technically want to read more of this genre, but I don't normally read it. It's technically, I thought, was going to be more of a body gore book where it was like descriptions of gory body dysmorphia and different like disfigurations, and while it did have that, it wasn't as gory as I thought it was going to be. I wasn't grossed out. I don't know if it would qualify as a horror book for me. It didn't have my heart pounding, and it didn't have me like on the edge of my seat as other books that I've read have. It didn't have me feeling anxious, and that's what I kind of expect a horror book to make me feel. I would say it was more like a suspenseful book than anything. The language was absolutely beautiful. It painted a very vivid picture. I really loved the different descriptions they used for the world and for the nature, and actually the descriptions for the different things happening to the girls was very beautifully done and not gross, which I was expecting it to be, like I said, just gross. I will say that I don't know if it's encouraging me to read more horror, and that's because the book isn't going to be highly starred for me. I would say maybe it's a 3.5 to a 4, just because the language is beautiful and the characters themselves are deliciously flawed. So they are human. They're selfish and they're real and they're scared, and this is what them to their bare bones of survival is, and I really appreciated that. So overall, Rory Power did me pretty good. I appreciated what she was putting forth, and I give her a 3.54. And now I'm going to move on to a movie I've seen but book I haven't read, which is P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. And I will check in with you after I finish that up. It's now 6 o'clock. A couple hours after I said I was going to start P.S. I Still Love You. I haven't started it yet. I think I've hit a little slump. I'm on a little TV break, but hopefully I'll get this whole thing done by Sunday. I have 2 more books to read. I could do it. Hi guys! Alright, so let's talk about what we ended off on. We sort of ended the videos off on a low note, me laying on the couch, kind of giving up on the challenges, and I would like to say I picked up the book again, and I rallied through it, and I read it, and I finished it, and I accomplished the challenges, but no, I didn't do that. I stayed watching TV. I did watch literary TV, if that, counts for anything. I watched Normal People on Hulu based off the book by Sally Rooney, and I watched Cursed on Netflix based off the book Cursed, And they were good. They were good shows. And so I feel a little more in tune with the books because it was a literary TV show. But I did not finish the challenges. I finished a birthstone my birthstone. I finished a book from a genre I don't normally read. I finished a book from a continent other than my own. And I also read this book partly outside. I'll talk about that more later. I finished a book starting with the word the. And I finished Margaret Atwood, which was the first book I touched. Now, I did not finish P.S. I Still Love You, and I did not start The Cactus. I didn't start The Cactus because I had Freshman that took place in England, so I was able to replace that and double up the challenge, knowing that I probably wasn't ever going to get to The Cactus. So the Freshman was read partly outside. I have the bug bites to prove it. I just didn't finish it outside because I have the bug bites to prove it. It wasn't a comfortable location for me, and so I finished the book inside and cheated a little bit on that. I did not finish this book because the more I read it, the more annoyed I got because Laura Jean is crazy. Like, literally, I know she's supposed to be a teenager, but she won't shut up in her head, and I find it very obnoxious. And I don't know why I didn't find her narration obnoxious in the first book, but suddenly I do. I think it's partly to do with someone pointed it out to me, and now I'm reading it with new eyes, and I do find her very annoying. So I don't know if this is going to be added to my did not finish list. I have a very small did not finish list because I very much hate not finishing books. I paid for them, and so I have to finish them. But you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll take a break from this and read like a really hardcore fantasy and then come back to that when I need something easier to read in the palette. And so that's my plan for that. Now I really wanted to rate my books for you. Starting at the bottom, we're going to start with a did not finish. And then we're going to go on, as you could probably tell, I did not like this book. It's a beautiful cover, but it was not my cup of tea. Then we're going to go with Freshman. While very cute and did get 3 stars, I will say it was a little boring at times, and I did find the main character sort of annoying, and I know a lot of you will probably also find her a little obnoxious. But for the most part, it was a good book. I finished it. I liked it, and so I gave it 3. And then the next one was The Wedding Party, was the next on my list that I liked, and we're going from the least to the greatest I've liked. And so I liked The Wedding Party more than I liked The Proposal and The Wedding Date, and so that's why I put it above Freshman. The next one I liked was Wilder Girls. That got my number 2 slot. I liked Wilder Girls. It had beautiful prose. It had beautiful imagery. The characters were really flawed, but it left me feeling like unfulfilled. And I wanted to feel more fulfilled at the end. And so because I didn't feel that is why I got lower rating than it did. And Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale was my highest rated. It was also a 4-star. And the reason I also gave it a 4-star is because I felt unfulfilled at the end the same way that I did with Wilder Girls. And I think that's probably because it has a sequel, Margaret Atwood does, and while I don't know if I'll read it, it could go to my want to read list on Goodreads. We'll see. You kind of got to be in the mood for it. It's not an easy book to read. It's definitely one that takes a little more time and thought. And so when I'm feeling extra, maybe I'll go back and I'll read the second one for that. As of the reading rush, I enjoyed myself so much overall. I enjoyed pushing myself to read books. I know my family didn't because it meant that I was a little less helpful around within the last week, but I had tons of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching my vlogs. Next year, I will participate again. We will definitely see me doing this again. As of you guys, did you participate in the reading rush? If you did, tell me how it went down below in the comments. I really look forward to hearing from you, and I loved all the comments you left on my last video. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed what you were watching. Enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later.